Todd Larson sees a tired-looking black woman in worn clothes and assumes she's just another nobody. Another problem to push out of his pristine bank. But what he doesn't know, that woman is Danielle Grayson, CEO and majority owner of the institution he thinks he runs. Stick around. Because when the boardroom door opens and #LarsonFalls ignites online, his golden pin won't represent honor. It'll represent everything that's about to crash down. Justice doesn't always wear a robe. Sometimes it walks in quietly and owns the building. Don't forget to drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and what time you found this video. Also, hit that subscribe button. Todd Larson straightened his golden branch manager pin, feeling its weight, a testament to 15 years of maintaining Grayson Trust Bank's pristine reputation. The morning light filtering through tall windows gleamed off polished marble floors, everything exactly as it should be, until she walked in. The security camera's steady red blink caught his attention as Danielle Grayson approached the counter, her worn clothes and disheveled appearance an affront to everything his branch represented. His fingers instinctively tightened around his pin as he moved from behind his desk, shoes clicking authoritatively across the floor. "Can I help you?" Todd Larson's voice carried across the lobby, sharp enough to make nearby customers look up. The woman reached for something in her bag, and his prejudices crystallized into certainty. "Security, watch this one carefully." The woman's head snapped up, eyes flashing with an unsettling defiance that made Todd Larson's stomach clench. But he was branch manager. This was his domain. He stepped closer, invading her space, voice dropping to a whisper that carried in the hushed lobby. "People like you don't belong in this establishment." A phone camera clicked, then another. His spine stiffened as he realized customers were recording, but surely they understood he was protecting their interests. The security camera's red light seemed to pulse more intensely now, like a warning he couldn't quite grasp. "Actually," a voice cut through the tension, "she very much belongs here." An elderly board member Todd Larson had carefully cultivated for years stepped forward. "Ms. Grayson owns this bank. The board meeting she's leading starts in 10 minutes. The golden pin suddenly felt like it was burning through Todd Larson's shirt. His carefully maintained world tilted as phones continued recording, a hashtag already forming. Larson fails. The security camera blinked impassively, recording his first taste of doubt. Have you ever felt absolute certainty crumble? Type power if you've watched authority collapse in real time. In his office later, Todd Larson stared at his reflection in the polished surface of his desktop, remembering his father's words. "We decide who belongs." But for the first time in 15 years, his hand trembled as he adjusted his pin, and a question echoed in his mind. How long could he maintain control when the very foundation of his authority was beginning to crack? The security footage would go viral within hours, his face plastered across social media. But sitting in his office, Todd Larson couldn't yet hear the approaching footsteps of accountability. He only knew that something had shifted, like the first tremor before an earthquake, and his perfect branch would never be quite the same. As the morning sun cast shadows through his office blinds, Todd Larson found himself wondering, when you've spent your entire career deciding who belongs, what happens when the world decides you don't? Todd Larson stands in his corner office, meticulously adjusting the golden branch manager pin that has been his companion through 15 years of climbing the corporate ladder at Grayson Trust Bank. His fingers trace the engraved GT logo, remembering mentor James Maxwell's words. "Trust your gut, Todd. It's kept our legacy clients safe for generations." The morning's confrontation with Danielle Grayson replays in his mind. The security footage loops on his desktop. His own commanding presence, the enhanced verification procedures he'd initiated. But something feels different this time. The usual satisfaction of maintaining standards is tainted by an unfamiliar discomfort. His phone buzzes. A notification from the bank's internal messaging system. Review requested. Customer verification protocols, branch number 247. Todd Larson's throat tightens. He opens his drawer, pulling out a thick folder labeled Special Procedures, Confidential. Inside, dozens of similar incidents span years, all marked with his signature, all following the same pattern he'd never questioned before. Maxwell taught me well, Todd Larson mutters, remembering the private meetings where they'd developed these protocols. His mentor's voice echoes. Some people just don't fit our client profile, Todd. We're protecting our institution's reputation. A new email arrives from corporate compliance. The subject line makes his hands sweat. Pattern analysis, customer verification procedures. Attached is a study from the Banking Industry Ethics Board about systemic bias in financial institutions. The statistics blur before his eyes. 87% higher verification requirements for minority customers. Todd Larson's golden pin suddenly feels heavier. He remembers every instance he's used these procedures, each time convincing himself it was about security, about standards. The weight of hundreds of decisions, all following the same unspoken rules, crashes down. His office phone rings. The regional director's name flashes on the screen. Todd Larson lets it go to voicemail, his attention caught by a parallel between today's incident and one from 3 months ago. Same procedures, different faces, but one crucial difference. Danielle Grayson's name carries weight he hadn't recognized. Have you ever watched your perfect system start to crack? Todd Larson whispers to his reflection in the window, straightening his tie with trembling fingers. Below, in the lobby, business continues as usual. But up here, his carefully constructed world begins to splinter. The afternoon crawls by as Todd Larson combs through years of records, each file now seeming less like protection and more like persecution. His mentor's teachings, once gospel, ring hollow against the mounting evidence of bias. A message appears from another branch manager. Heard about this morning? Maybe we should review our approach? Todd Larson deletes it immediately, but the doubt lingers. The golden pin on his lapel catches the light again, no longer a symbol of authority, but a weight pulling him toward a truth he's spent years ignoring. Type, "Truth hurts if you've ever questioned your own practices," flashes across his mind, a moment of self-awareness he quickly suppresses. As evening approaches, Todd Larson sits alone in his office, surrounded by the evidence of years of discriminatory practices. His phone keeps buzzing. More messages, more questions, more cracks in the foundation of everything he's built his career upon. It was never about protection, he finally admits to himself. It was about power, about control, about keeping things the way they've always been. The realization doesn't bring relief, only a growing fear of what tomorrow might bring. The golden pin lies on his desk, its shine diminished in the fading light. Todd Larson reaches for it, then pulls back, suddenly unsure if he deserves to wear it anymore. Outside his office, the world continues turning. But inside, the hidden problems of years of systematic discrimination begin their inevitable unraveling. Using Todd Larson's exact full name consistently throughout and maintaining story coherence with the story memory, here's the unseen consequences. Branch manager Todd Larson stares at his phone in disbelief, watching the view counter climb. The security footage he'd dismissed earlier has somehow leaked, showing his confrontation with Danielle Grayson from 3 different angles. His hands shake as he reads comment after comment, each one dissecting his actions, his words, his sneering expression captured in crystal clarity. The Golden Branch Manager pin on his lapel catches the afternoon light, and Todd Larson flinches at its reflection in his office window. He'd polished it just this morning, proud of its significance. Now it feels like a target, broadcasting his identity to the world. His fingers trace its edges nervously as another notification pings. Hat? Bank. Shame has reached over 100,000 mentions. Sir? His assistant's voice trembles slightly. Corporate is on line 1. They're asking about the trending video. Todd Larson's stomach lurches. He'd always been untouchable, protected by his position, his connections, his carefully maintained image of authority. But something about Danielle Grayson's composure had cracked that facade. The way she'd stood there, phone recording, unflinching. She'd known something he hadn't. The office phone keeps ringing. Todd Larson watches as 3 more employees walk past his glass-walled office, purposefully avoiding eye contact. These same people had laughed at his jokes this morning, eagerly agreed with his every decision. Now their silence speaks volumes. His computer chimes with an email notification. Subject line: Immediate review of past customer complaints. Todd Larson's blood runs cold as he opens it. Pages of incidents, dates, names, all previously buried, all resurfacing now. Each one echoing today's confrontation, each one carefully documented but dismissed. His own signature at the bottom of every rejection. Have you seen what they're saying about us online? A fellow manager peers in, face pale. They're calling for an investigation into all our practices, every branch, every manager. They're saying she's not the first one. She wasn't. Todd Larson knows this, has always known this. His golden pin catches the light again, and for a moment he sees himself as others must see him, not the respected branch manager, but something else entirely. Something ugly. His phone buzzes again. A text from his mentor, the regional director. Distance yourself. No comment. Let it blow over. But even as he reads it, Todd Larson knows something has shifted. The carefully constructed walls of his world are crumbling, and no amount of institutional protection can stop it. A comment under the viral video catches his eye. Watch how he reaches for his pin when he's threatening her. Classic power move from someone about to fall. Todd Larson's hand drops from his lapel, where he'd been unconsciously gripping the pin again. The whispers in the lobby have become a roar online. Bank shame trends higher every minute, joined now by #GraysonTruth. Each new share, each new comment strips away another layer of his authority. The security guard who'd rushed to his call earlier now stands at the lobby entrance, carefully avoiding the office's direction. Type karma if you've ever been dismissed by someone drunk on power, reads one viral tweet, already flooded with responses. Todd Larson closes his browser, but he can't escape the truth he's seeing reflected everywhere. In his employees' averted gazes, in his suddenly silent phone line, in the weight of his once proud pin. The consequences he'd never considered are crashing down, and for the first time in his career, branch manager Todd Larson feels truly, devastatingly exposed. His hands shake as he reaches for his pin, desperate to straighten it, to hold on to some semblance of control. But as he catches his reflection in the window, all he sees is fear. Fear of what's coming. Fear of what's already been set in motion, and most terrifying of all, fear of what he's always been. Officer Bradley Larson's hands trembled as he gripped the Golden Branch manager pin, his symbol of authority now feeling like lead against his chest. The security cameras he'd always seen as allies now felt like piercing eyes, recording his downfall in high definition. His world was crumbling, and the prestigious Grayson Trust Bank lobby had become his personal courtroom. I didn't know, he stammered, his voice barely a whisper, as CEO Danielle Grayson stood before him, phone still recording. The same phone that had captured his earlier tirade, his discriminatory remarks, his abuse of power, all of it now trending under #LarsonFalls. A low wave of whispers rolled through the lobby. I got it on video, a customer murmured, clutching their phone. That's the CEO, an employee whispered, eyes wide. Todd felt the heat of dozens of stares, the soft clicks of camera phones echoing like a drumbeat. The room, once his domain, now felt like a courtroom, and the crowd had already reached its verdict. That deafening, judging silence that made every shallow breath echo like thunder. His chest tightened as he noticed Linda, his most loyal assistant of 15 years, quietly removing her staff pin and placing it on her desk. "Mr. Larson?" Danielle Grayson's voice sliced through the tension, her gaze sharp as glass. "Did you forget who signs your paycheck?" Todd opened his mouth, but no words came out. "Oh, and by the way," Grayson added, lifting her phone slightly, "this is live streaming across the entire corporate network." A murmur rippled through the crowd. A customer shook their head in quiet disbelief, and a security guard shifted his stance, eyes flicking away from Todd. "You thought you were protecting the bank's reputation," Grayson said softly. "But today, you destroyed it." He reached for his desk, steadying himself. The mahogany surface he'd polished religiously every morning now felt foreign under his fingertips. The framed awards on the wall. Excellence in leadership, outstanding service, mocked him with their hollow praise. His phone buzzed incessantly. Local news notifications, Twitter mentions, LinkedIn messages. Each vibration another nail in his professional coffin. The viral video of his confrontation with Grayson had already reached 500,000 views. "I've worked here for 23 years, he managed, his voice cracking. "Everything I've built." His fingers brushed against the golden pin again, remembering how proudly he'd accepted it 2 decades ago. Now it burned against his chest like a brand of shame. The security team he'd commanded just hours ago now stood at attention, awaiting orders from CEO Grayson instead. Their eyes avoided his, the same eyes that had once shown nothing but respect and deference. Human intervention message. Would you like me to continue with this section? I can develop Todd Larson's downfall further, maintaining the intense emotional progression and YouTube-friendly narrative style while keeping his perspective central to every scene. Branch manager Todd Larson stares at his reflection in the training room's darkened window, the golden branch manager's pin heavy in his trembling hands. The same pin he'd polished obsessively every morning, wielding it like a shield of authority, now feels like a burning ember against his palm. The whirring projector casts shifting shadows across his face as scenes from that fateful confrontation with Danielle Grayson play out before the mandatory training session. "I didn't just fail as a manager that day," Todd Larson whispers to himself, his voice barely audible above the projector's hum. "I failed as a human being." The words taste bitter, but truthful, as he watches himself on screen, sees the arrogance in his stance, the contempt in his eyes that he'd always mistaken for professional judgment. The training facilitator's voice cuts through his thoughts. "Mr. Larson, would you share your perspective on institutional bias?" The room falls silent, all eyes turning to Todd Larson. His fingers trace the pin's edges one last time before he stands, legs unsteady. "For 15 years, Todd Larson begins, his voice cracking, "I convinced myself that my intuition was protecting this bank. But watching that video of myself with Ms. Grayson..." He pauses, swallowing hard. "I wasn't protecting anything. I was perpetuating a system of discrimination that I'd been too proud, too blind to see." The projector clicks to the next slide, showing statistics of banking discrimination. Each number feels like a personal indictment to Todd Larson. His eyes fix on one particular figure. Thousands of similar incidents across the industry, each one a mirror of his own actions. "The hardest part," Todd Larson continues, addressing the room of fellow managers, "isn't losing my position or becoming the face of what not to do in corporate training. It's realizing how many people I hurt while believing I was doing my job well." His hand extends, placing the golden pin on the facilitator's desk. The soft clink echoes through the silent room. The training video shifts to show the viral moment that ended his career. Grayson Trust trending worldwide, his confrontation with Danielle Grayson viewed millions of times. Todd Larson doesn't flinch anymore when he sees it. Instead, he feels a different kind of weight. Responsibility. "What happened that day didn't just expose my biases," Todd Larson acknowledges, his voice stronger now. "It exposed a system that enabled people like me to act on those biases without consequence. But consequences finally caught up with me, and with the system itself." The projector shows the new accountability measures being implemented across Grayson Trust Bank, measures that Todd Larson himself helped design during his journey of rehabilitation. His former golden pin now sits in a display case in the bank's lobby, part of an exhibition on institutional change. "Change doesn't begin with policies," Todd Larson concludes, addressing both the room and the camera, recording his testimony for future training sessions. "It begins with people like me admitting we were wrong. It begins when we stop defending our biases and start dismantling them." As the lights come up, Todd Larson remains standing, his reflection now clear in the window. The man who once terrorized customers with his prejudice has been replaced by someone else, someone humbled, transformed, and committed to change. Type 1 if you've ever had to confront your own biases. Your honesty matters. The facilitator steps forward, gesturing to the camera. "Mr. Larson's story will be shared in every branch across the country, because sometimes the most powerful lessons come from those who had to learn them the hardest way." Todd Larson nods, his eyes meeting the camera lens directly. "My name is Todd Larson, and my fall from power became a foundation for change. Share this story, not because it's remarkable, but because it's common. Only by exposing our biases can we begin to overcome them. Share this video to help build a more equitable banking system. Every view is a step toward change." Bias falls.